My parents didn't teach me this, but it is the secret to setting financial goals and any goal that actually succeeds. My name's Bear, and unlike the majority of autistic people who struggle with employment and income, I've always found managing money easy, although like many of us, I wasn't taught how to save in school. In this series, I'm sharing the money basics that I relay to friends and family whenever they ask me questions about generating wealth. And just in case you think I'm Rain Man, I actually don't like maths very much. The reason I'm comfortable with personal finance tips has a lot more to do with my beliefs and practical tips that you can apply too. The number one thing I want to share today about how to set money goals is the approach that every goal is a financial goal. My parents didn't teach me this, but it is the secret to setting financial goals and any goal that actually succeeds. So one of the conceptions about money and goal setting is that you can split your life into neat boxes. So you're told to divide annual goals into 90-day goals and reverse engineer. And a lot of the advice out there, I'm not a financial advisor, just sharing what's worked for me, but a lot of the advice out there says, focus on one area of life at a time for 90 days. So you might divide the year into, say, finance, your health and fitness, relationships, and your career. And then sometimes there are other add-ons like spirituality or some kind of hobby of yours or whatever. But these all rely on your finances. So for instance, let's say you had a goal, you wanted to level up your relationships and you decided that you're going to go on a date night every single week. Obviously, if you don't actually ask first how you're going to afford that or what you're going to do on those date nights, then that could fall by the wayside very quickly if it doesn't match up with what your finances are doing. Another example is if you choose a fitness goal and decide to take up a new sport. You might start off for free, which is great, but then you might find that in order to sustain that goal and to keep doing what you're doing, that there's some added costs that come in along the way. And again, that might not line up with the financial goals that you set for yourself for the year, or you might have just shelved whatever you were doing with your finances because you only focused on that for the first quarter of the year or whatever. And finally, maybe you want to change careers or retrain at work, or you want to take an extra course and study something that's going to cost more money than what you've already spent. And again, if you haven't included that within your financial goals, then the thing that you're trying to do, which is supposedly separate from that, is just going to fall apart because they're so intertwined. What is that on your screen, by the way? Is that a like button? Who put that there? So what I would suggest is if you get a piece of paper, whether you had New Year's resolutions or not, and whether you would normally do any kind of like formal goal setting, you can get a piece of paper and write down all the things that you'd like to improve in different areas of your life. But the next step is not deciding what time of day you're going to start going running or how many dating apps you're going to join. The next step is asking how much budget can you allocate to that idea. And if the answer is none, it doesn't mean that you have to scrap other goal areas. It just might be that you choose a way to work towards that thing for free now, and then you revisit it later. Now, I don't know who to credit for this approach. I feel like it's just something that I realized over time through learning about personal finance and going through the process of like tracking income and outgoings and learning about budgeting and just anything that I could about money, really. So if this is a principle that belongs to some guru out there, all credit to them, but I don't remember where I learned it. I feel like I would remember if I learned it from one person, and it's definitely not something that I feel like I was raised with this idea that you should stop before you set a goal and work out the finances first. And I do find if you're watching television, so for instance, any show that seems to be about like food, recipes, cooking, fitness, a lot of those shows never mention the finances of how their participants are actually going to pay for this. As a one-off for a television show, perhaps it doesn't really matter that much. And I'm sure the program makers would say, well, that's not what our show is about. Our show is just about learning to cook vegetarian or the quickest way to get fit in January or whatever it is. But if we're used to consuming media all the time that takes the finances out of it, That's why I think it's then very easy when you're setting goals yourself, especially if you're in like a high energy mode of like, yeah, let's do this right now. This seems like a great idea. You might feel very differently in a few weeks' time, even if you've gone through all of the information that's out there about, you know, how to set smart goals and all of the things you can do to make sure that you stick to a goal. So maybe you made an identity pact with yourself, and maybe you got a friend to join you, and maybe you threw something out of your house to get rid of an old habit, to help you start your new habit, whatever it is. But none of the other stuff that you can do to stay on track and stay motivated with any goal means anything if it relies on funding that just isn't there. But following on from this, next up I want to cover some other mindset beliefs that are really useful to have if you're trying to change your finances or set goals. So if you found today useful, don't forget to test what the like and subscribe button do for a pleasant surprise, and you'll want to catch the rest of the series next. The best way to get updates otherwise from Save Like a Bear is actually via my email newsletter, where I'll also send out a bonus guide on budgeting and mindset that you can use whether you've added a second income or not. Links to sign up to that are in the description.